Hello, in this tutorial, we are going to be learning about Python numbers. In this lesson, we are going to know some useful methods or functions that can be used to work with numbers. So first of all, an example of a number method is the round function. And the round function, which is round, it rounds a number to a particular number of decimal points. So the syntax of the round is that you input the number and you input, then you separate it with a comma, then the number of decimal places where you want to round your number to. So we are going to see an example of how we can round up numbers using the round function. And so let's round up pi, which is equals to 3.141, to two decimal places and to three decimal places. And so to do that, we are going to specify a variable. I'm going to say two decimal should be equal to round, and then we'll now type in pi, then separate it with a comma, and then we say 2. So what this does is that it will round the value of pi here in two decimal places. So we are going to print two decimals, and so when you run this code, you see that pi will be rounded to two decimal places. So let's run the code to see the result. As you can see, that pi has been rounded to two decimal places, which is 3.14, and so you can also round it to three decimal places. So what you have to do is to change the 2 and you compute 3, and so when you run the code, you see that pi will be 3.142. And so that's the use of the round function in Python. It is used to round numbers to a specific number of decimal points. It can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5, as the case may be. So it all depends on your choice. In 4 decimal place, it rounds it to 3.1416. The next function we are going to be looking at is to raise a number to a power. So for example, you use the POW function to raise up numbers to a specific power. So this is the syntax where you have the number and then the particular number where you want to raise it to. So the base is the number which you have, and the exp, which is the expression, is the specified power which you want to raise to. And so for example, let's look at an example. So take that we want to raise the value of 12, raise it to 2. And so what we do is to say that our x should be equals to the power of 12 comma 2, and what this means is that 12 will be raised 2 times, so it's the same thing as saying 12 times 12. And then we're going to print out the value of x. So, and when we run this code, you see that 12 will be printed as 12 times 12, which will give us 144. And so you see that it has raised the power of 12 in 2 times, which is the same thing as saying 12 times 12. So you can also raise it to 3 places, which is 12 times 12 times 12. And when you run the code, you will see that it will raise x, which is, and when you run the code, you see that it will raise 12 to 3 places, which gives us 1728. And so next, we are going to be seeing how we can get the absolute value of a number. So the absolute value of a number is the non-negative value of that number. And to get the absolute value, we use the ABS function, and then we input the number which you want to get the absolute value for. So for example, let's get the absolute value for minus 21.5. So I'm going to say x should be equal to ABS, and then in parentheses minus 12.5. So remember that the absolute value is used to get the non-negative value of that number. So we are going to print out x, and then when we run this code, you see that the value of minus 12.5 will be printed as 12.5. And so let's look at another example. And I will say that my y should be equal to minus 3.1, and then I will now say print, and then I will say y. So remember, we have to use the absolute function by typing abs, and then you open a parenthesis and then impute the negative number so that you can get the non-negative value of that number. So when we run this code, hit on the play button, you can see the non-negative number of minus 3.12 is given as minus 3.1288, as the case may be. And so next we are going to see how we can get the quotient and the remainder of numbers. And so the div mode function takes two numbers and then it returns a pair of numbers that consist of their quotient and their remainder. And let's look at an example. Let's say our x should be equal to div mode, and then we'll specify the quotient and the remainder. So the quotient of 5 and 2, 5 comma 2, the remainder is 1 and the quotient is 2. So when you divide 5 by 2, it has the remainder of 1. So we are going to print out this, and the quotient of 5 and 2 is 2. So let's print out x and to see. So when you run the code, you see that to give us the quotient and the remainder, and you can see that the quotient of 5 and 2 is 2, and the remainder of 5 divided by 2 is 1. And so that's how Python number methods work. So remember, we started by rounding up a number to a specific decimal places, and then we looked at how we could get a power to be raised, and then we look at how we can raise a number to a specific power, and then we saw how we could get the absolute value, and finally we have seen how we can get the quotient and the remainder of numbers. So you can go and try this, and then you can try to get the quotient of 56 and then the remainder of 7, and then you drop your answers in the comment section below. You go and try this code, and then you bring back your report to me. And guys, I appreciate your effort so far. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, like the video, share to your friends, and I'll see you in my next tutorial where I'll be talking about Python strings. Thank you and have a wonderful day. God bless you.